Hi guys, welcome to episode 4 of the Short Tooth movie review channel, where I start talking to you about all the DVDs and Blu-rays that I've collected over the last week and that I've watched. I want to thank, first of all, everyone who's subscribed over the past week. Some of my subscriber numbers have gone up, which has been great, as well as an increase in Twitter followers, which has been great too. If you do want to follow me on Twitter, my thing is at ShortTooth's with an ED at the end of ShortTooth. So if you want to follow me on there and get some updates on me when I watch films and that sort of thing, please add me on there. That'd be great. Now I'm going to get straight to it, but just before I do, just want to say that one of the comments that I got on the channel was that I could potentially get more films into my reviews if I spent less time on the plot and just did my anecdotes and things, my thoughts on the film rather than dealing with the plot. What I am going to say is that I'm not going to be able to do more than 5 films really in a review, simply because I don't watch that many movies in between each of the reviews. I think 5 every week is a pretty good standard, but I will cut down on the plot descriptions that I give you, because even I bore myself sometimes when I ramble on about them. So I'll just get straight into it with a selection for this week, and I hope you like this episode. So the first one that I got, not on the 1001 film list to see before you die, but it is Blu-ray. It's a film that I've been curious about for a couple of years. I first heard about it when I was working at this film company up in London, and I was intrigued by it, but at the time I had something against George Clooney. I don't know why. I was just reluctant to go and see sort of films like Up in the Air and things like that. I was getting a little bit disenchanted with him, but I don't know why. There was no real reason, and particularly not after watching this film. It's a film called The Men Who Stare at Goats. Now, this is a film about it's a true story about a psychic army who worked for the United States that first came out of the Vietnam War and then worked through the following few decades. Basically, it was about defeating the enemy in war through peace and love. It was almost like a hippie movement, and it was all based on real colonels and real people who headed up all these schemes. And in terms of the movie, what you've got is Jeff Bridges plays a character who headed up this movement, who broke away this sort of splinter group that says we're not going to use violence, we're going to bring peace and love to our enemy, and we'll distract them through not only psychic messages telling them not to shoot us, not to do us any harm, but we'll bring down their defences by bringing flowers and animals. And it sounds crazy, but this is obviously something that actually happened. And the film actually follows Ewan McGregor, who plays a reporter whose wife has left him, and he meets George Clooney, one of the recruits to Jeff Bridges' movement. And along the way, he goes on this journey, Ewan McGregor, with George Clooney, on this secret mission, which Clooney can't tell him about because he doesn't really know anyway. He just senses that he's got something to do with this movement again, which was cancelled many, many years ago due to the efforts of Kevin Spacey, who plays this army recruit who had the powers but wasn't as strong as George Clooney and sort of used it for bad. It's a very tongue-in-cheek story, but it has a lot to say about the war in Iraq, particularly as a lot of George Clooney's films and that whole brat pack around George Clooney did at the time. I think this was made in 2009. It's a tongue-in-cheek story, but it is also, it's hard to say whether it's an out-and-out comedy or not, because there's moments which are quite comedic, but then you've got quite dramatic moments, quite emotional moments, then quite adventurous moments. It's all a bit weird. It's a very choppy film, but it's enjoyable nonetheless. It only runs for about 90 minutes, and seeing that cast together is worth it. It is good. There's some great moments in it. It's got quite a good soundtrack. It's got a soundtrack from the past 30 years, so you've got music of the time, straight from the hippie movement. You've got some Monkees and Beatles in there, straight up to things like Supergrass from the UK. It's a film which sort of leaves you at the end thinking, did I enjoy that or not? Because it feels like somebody on IMDb put it better than I can, actually. They said it's like holding onto a stick of dynamite for the duration of the film and then finding out that it doesn't explode. That's what it was like. It feels like this is really going somewhere. This is great, and I was really enjoying it. It was something that I wasn't expecting to enjoy as much as I did, up until the last 10 minutes of the film, where it sort of lost its way for me a bit. It sort of was a cop-out, and it was almost like they didn't really know where they wanted to go with the story, which was disappointing. But some people might like it, and some people may say that was the perfect ending for it. It's well acted by the 4 main cast members. I did really enjoy it for the journey, but then I just feel let down by the end. I can't really reveal too much about it, but there's a lot of comedy in there, particularly scenes with George Clooney and Ewan McGregor. There's one scene where George Clooney, who's obviously grown up in this movement where it's about using biodegradable weapons and using things like that in order to foster your resistance through life. And he's got this piece of plastic which is almost like a plastic spanner. And he says this is a weapon that's got 150 uses, and he uses it on Ewan McGregor in a number of ways, which is pretty funny. And it's a lot of little moments like that which are funny and that keep you entertained throughout. But nevertheless, you feel like there's not a whole cohesive story there. And I also feel let down a bit by Jeff Bridges' character, what happens to Jeff Bridges' character later in the film. Now, that sounds as though I'm saying he's dying, and I'm not saying he dies or he doesn't die, but it goes beyond that in any case. I just mean the character arc for Jeff Bridges' character. You feel so much for him in the opening 30, 40 minutes when you see him building this movement. And then what happens a little bit later, it's a little bit of a letdown, and also a bit like, well, this character's sort of changed up a fair bit, which I'm not too comfortable with, because you weren't preparing us for that in any way, and it didn't really follow through in keeping with the rest of the story. Anyway, the film overall, I enjoyed it. It was a good film. It was better than I expected. I was let down by the ending. There is a very interesting backstory to it, in truth. So if you're interested, go and read up on that. It's the New Earth Army, is what this army was called, of these New Age thinkers using psychic abilities to disarm their enemy. I'm a little bit nonplussed. I don't really know what more to say about it. I have only just watched it about 30 minutes ago, so it's still swimming around in my head a bit. But it's fun. It's good. If you watch it, I'm sure you'll enjoy it. And just so you know, it's called The Men Who Stare at Goats because it came about from this real thing, totally based in fact, of training soldiers to sit in a room and stare at goats and kill goats just with their mind by staring at them. And it's that philosophy which sort of makes or breaks what happens with the New Earth Army. But give it a watch. I do recommend it. I would give it a 7 out of 10. It was, as I say, it was enjoyable to get through, but it's not. It just lacked the punch towards the end. If you want a recommendation for something like that, I would go with something like a Coen Brothers film, but not one of their out-and-out slaps. It's not like Big Lebowski or something like that. I'd say maybe something like Blood Simple, although they're a little bit dark, it's more in keeping with something like Blood Simple by the Coen Brothers, or even something like Simple Man, the one that they did recently about the Jewish guy. It's in keeping with that. It is funny. Burn After Reading is a perfect comparison to it, also starring George Clooney. That's the best comparison, actually. So if you liked that, you'd probably like this film. Go and check it out. Not a bad film. I quite enjoyed it. Next film on the list is a Blu-ray as well. This film I didn't know too much about before I bought it. I'd heard things about it, but I didn't know much about it at all. It's a film called Greenberg, and it's a comedy with starring Ben Stiller, and there's Jennifer Jason Leigh in it as well, although I don't know why they credit her on the movie cover because she's not the main actress. I don't actually know the main actress's name. I think she's up and coming, but anyway, Ben Stiller's pretty much known for his sort of gross out, raucous comedies. There's Something About Mary, Dodgeball, Meet the Parents, that sort of thing. This film sees a very different Ben Stiller. He plays a very Woody Allen-esque archetypal character in as much as his character is very jaded with life. He's very cynical. He's a recluse. Basically, he's just come out of a mental asylum. For what, you don't entirely know, but you just know that he's come out of a mental asylum. And he goes to stay at his brother's house in LA while his brother and the family are off on holiday in Vietnam. And the film revolves around his relationship with his brother's nanny, who looks after the house and sort of looks after the dog and things like that while they're away. And it's about a man who's so awkward and withdrawn from the world and so jaded with everything and bitter about things and also locked in nostalgia, trying to come to terms with modern day and the fact that you've got to live in the present, you can't live in the past, and he's sort of hung up on the past a bit, and that's his excuse for his cynicism and bitterness with a lot of things, whether it's relationships, whether it's the failing of his band many years ago. All these sort of things come into play, and it's very dark, and it's very a withdrawn performance by Ben Stiller, really well acted actually. I didn't know that he had it in him to play comedy to this level, on such a subdued level, but it is very good. And he does really well in it. Rhys Ifans plays his best friend in it as well. And Rhys Ifans is really surprisingly good. I don't really like Rhys Ifans that much, but he does put in a good performance in this. Essentially, in terms of a story, it just follows the trajectory of Ben Stiller's visit at his brother's place while they are away, and funnily enough, the looking after of his family's dog. So when his brother's dog falls ill, he has to look after it, and this is a plot point which runs throughout the whole story. And around that come all these different issues about coming to terms with modern day life and having to deal with it and being scared of it as well, but at the same time being justified in being scared of it, but also accepting it and knowing that you can't let it consume you. Whether or not he embraces that, I won't say, but it is a very oddball indie comedy. It is definitely worth a watch. I enjoyed it a lot. I would give it an 8 out of 10. It was that good, and it is rewatchable as well. I think it would work on many levels. The only thing that holds it back a bit is there are a couple of times when Ben Stiller does ramp it up a bit and he plays that traditional Ben Stiller character that everybody knows and loves, which would be fine in another movie, but not necessarily this movie. For the most part, he puts in a good performance though. I really enjoyed it. I think you will too. If you're a fan of Ben Stiller, you might be a bit surprised by it, so don't go in expecting a bit more of the same. It's something like if Todd Solondz did a comedy, which is kind of dark, but I reckon give it a shot. See if you like it. I liked it. It's hard to say whether it's going to be for everyone. By way of a recommendation, I would say a very subdued Woody Allen film would be a good recommendation for it. Something like Annie Hall taken down a few notches and put in a very bleak and depressing setting, because overall it does have this bleak feel to it. It's actually a film that does leave you thinking. When it got to the end of it, I thought, shit, I do actually see a lot of myself in this bastard of a character. And well, then he's not a bastard of a character. It's very complex. His character is multi-layered. It's good to look at and analyse and think about. So check it out. Definitely worth the watch. Next film is again something that I've been waiting to see for a long time. When it first came out, I heard bad things about it, and it's Watchmen. This is on DVD. It's the Watchmen DVD, and it's based on Alan Moore's graphic novels. I don't know when they were written, but essentially, most of you probably know the plot by now, but it's about a group of retired superheroes who suddenly have one of their number killed, and the belief is that somebody is killing these superheroes who are entitled The Watchmen. Now, it's a really interesting film. It's almost 3 hours long, and it's not a superhero movie. It deals with superheroes, but it's more of like a noir-y action thriller. It's like Matrix meets something like Shutter Island almost. The cast are made up of pretty much unknowns, but everyone puts in an amazing performance as far as I'm concerned. It's very dark, very gritty, very brutal, very bloody. It's 18 rated, and it's really interesting because it's all set in context of Nixon's reign in America and what would have happened if Nixon had been successful with his whole Vietnam thing. The fallout of that being that the public decided that they didn't need superheroes to protect them anymore. They were vigilantes, so the public cried out for no more vigilantes, so the superheroes were forced into retirement. Now, you've got a couple who simply went into retirement, carried on with their day-to-day lives after that then, but then you've got another couple who still operates as superheroes just undercover. So you've got someone called Rorschach, played by Jackie Earle Haley, I think his name is, the guy who played the Freddy Krueger in the new Nightmare on Elm Street. He plays a guy with a Rorschach print over his head, which is like one of those ink blot tests that they give you when you go for a psychiatric test. And he operates as this superhero who's just so disillusioned with the world, and he hates people, but he needs to protect them from the worst people from our society. You've got the big blue guy that you may have seen on the trailers, Dr. Manhattan. You've got the comedian. Really good bunch of characters, and it's really interesting. But it does go on for almost 3 hours. I could deal with it. Admittedly, I did start falling asleep towards the last 15 minutes just because I was watching it late at night and I was tired. No reflection on the movie, but I did see it all. I didn't miss the last 15 minutes. It was really enjoyable. It's great. It's not just action fare, and it's not just brainless plug yourself in for this movie. You need to think and listen throughout, because there are a lot of plot points and information that are given when you don't realise that it's being given, and everything you think you know isn't really what you know throughout it. It's a mixture of a lot of genres, really. It's really unique. Visually, it's amazing. I wish I had it on Blu-ray, unfortunately I don't, but the colours in it are pretty amazing. And the opening credits to it plays out to Bob Dylan's The Times They Are A-Changing, and you've got these very slowed down shots of the superheroes in various poses doing very different things, and it's really well done because it introduces you to the characters in a very interesting and unique way. From what I've read on it, Alan Moore, he infamous for not wanting any of his work to be turned into films. So he's done stuff like From Hell as well. He hates his stuff being turned into films. And he's quite passionate about the fact that he'll never see this. I haven't read the graphic novel, so I can't compare. From what I've heard, a lot of people say that stuff was left out, which of course is always going to happen. Just like when books get adapted, you have to deal with that. When it becomes a film, it's a different entity entirely. The book still stands, the graphic novel still stand. Judge the film by itself. I would rate it probably 8 out of 10 for enjoyment on this, and I do want to go out and get the graphic novels as well just to read up on them and see some more about the characters. Really interesting, really good. By way of a comparison, I think you're looking at something between something like Dark Knight and Shutter Island, so something that is quite intellectually challenging while having a moral standpoint on the world as well. It's quite tricky and complex to draw a direct recommendation for that. But a mixture between those two would be good. It's great. I really enjoyed it. There's some fantastic one-liners in there. I can see it's so instantly quotable. And I think that it's the kind of film that in about 20, 30 years will be a cult classic because not many people are talking about it anymore. It's slowly disappearing off into obscurity. But in 20, 30 years, people look back and say, shit, that was good. So that was Watchmen. Next, this one I picked up because I was at Blockbusters and you could get like 4 Blu-rays for £10, which I could not believe. They're pre-owned, but doesn't matter. And it's a film that I've always hesitated about seeing because I've got a very love-hate relationship with this main guy. And it's Ghost Town. Ricky Gervais's Ghost Town. Well, not Ricky Gervais's Ghost Town, he's just the lead in it. Now, recently I've been watching Extras, which I missed out when it was going through its original run, and really enjoyed it. But I hate to say that because I hate Ricky Gervais. I think he's a twat. His stand-up and the way that he expresses himself, I just think he's a bit of a bastard. But his comedies are always gold, and you know it's hard to say that, but it's true. So I thought I'll check out Ghost Town, and this is his first foray into being in a feature film. Typically, he plays the same character, someone who's very sick of the human race, very snide, very sarcastic, hasn't got any time for people. So fitting then that he would play a dentist coming into contact with various people who are going to be coming to him with complaints throughout the day. He lives in Manhattan. He's a British doctor living, not Manhattan, in New York. And he goes to the hospital for some sort of operation. And he comes out of the operation with the ability to see dead people. And the first dead person that he really comes into contact with is Greg Kinnear, who died while he was cheating on his wife. And since then, his wife has moved on. She's with another man. And Greg Kinnear has said, we can't move on. We need your help. This is all the dead people. We need your help. So I want you to help me with this. I want you to make sure that she doesn't fall in love with this man. She doesn't marry this man. His wife is played by Tia Leone, and she lives in the same building as Ricky Gervais. Now, the film then sort of plods along through that tried and tested formula that we've seen in things like Ghost and Sixth Sense. It's actually a mixture of those two films, in as much as certainly not scary at any point, but the ability to see dead people and them wanting things, and the love relationship. Now, it can be described, and I would describe it as a romantic comedy, but certainly not your typical romantic comedy. I will give it credit for the fact that it doesn't follow the standard formula of romantic comedies. It doesn't come out with cliched. I've got to stop saying cliched. I was told to stop saying cliched in my reviews, actually, with the same tried and tested formula that you see in romantic comedies. And of course it did, because it was Ricky Gervais, so you're not exactly looking at Hugh Grant when you look at him. And he doesn't manage to pull off the performance really throughout. He's good for playing his awkward character, very realistic responses. I think he's great at doing the thing that I've forgotten the name of it now, what they do in Curb Your Enthusiasm, improv. He's great at improvisational comedy, and I think that comes across in things like Extras and The Office. But in this, when he's got a script, which he hasn't written himself, you can see he tries to bring moments of that humour to the film, and it does work sometimes, his expressions and some of the ways he says things, but overall it's not done well. And it coming out of his mouth, it seems as though the script is crap. Whereas coming out of another actor's mouth, someone like a Tom Hanks or something, maybe it would work. I don't know. It just doesn't work with Ricky Gervais in that role. And if Ricky Gervais wasn't in that role, the film wouldn't be that successful. So it's gotten a bit of a vicious circle. Um, it is okay, it's alright, but it's not great, and I was pretty bored watching it, to be honest with you. It's a film that I'll only watch that one time. I won't be watching that one again anytime soon. It does have some tearjerker moments, which, because Ricky Gervais is involved, are all the more poignant because he does that quite well in all of his comedy. But for the most part, it's a little bit, I don't know, it's just overly sentimental at times, which doesn't suit him at all. God only knows what the invention of lying must be like, because I hear that that's even worse. So I definitely won't be checking that one out. So if you do want something more like that, go with something like the Woody Allen film that had Larry David in it from Curb Your Enthusiasm. Can't remember the name of it now, but go with something like that, or just go and check out some decent Ricky Gervais comedy TV stuff instead of watching this, because it ain't that good. And to be honest with you, I think he did this because he wanted to break America and he wanted to get in with all his Hollywood buddies. Because that's what annoys me about Ricky Gervais a bit. He now goes to this lengths of thinking he's an A-lister as well and getting all these A-lister celebrities in all of his shows and rubbing shoulders with them. He's just enamoured with that, and this was his way of breaking into it as far as I'm concerned. Didn't work, Ricky. It's not your thing. Carry on with Derek. Do something like that. Anyway, last thing I'm going to do today, not actually a film, but something that I want to review. It's something that I've started watching, and I got it on Blu-ray. It's the Game of Thrones. You can't see that at all because it's pretty dark down here. It's the Game of Thrones first season Blu-ray, and it only started about a year and a half ago on Sky Atlantic over here in the UK, and I totally missed out on it. It's not really my thing in terms of fantasy. I don't really go for things like fantasy at all, but I was craving a new television series because I am quite into them, and I thought, you know what, it's 25 quid or 30 quid, let's just get it and see what all the fuss is about, because I hear good things. Man, it's amazing. I've watched one episode, and I'm not going to continue to review this throughout other things, and I won't spend too long talking about this, but I will say it is one of the best things I've seen on Blu-ray in all my time watching them. It's arguably better than Dark Knight in terms of quality of the Blu-ray. The landscapes are absolutely fantastic. This is a fantasy world, so they will be. That very, very opening scene where you've got this group of guys on horses that are moving through a snowy forest is immaculate. It looks like three-dimensional. Really good. Fantastic storyline so far. Only so much can be put into an hour, but they put so much into it, and I can't wait to see where it leads. Sean Bean's fantastic in the lead in it. It's bloody brutal. It's like Lord of the Rings for adults. Not that there's anything wrong with Lord of the Rings, but this is like Lord of the Rings audience who want something a little bit harder. This is what you're going to get with this. I can't wait to see how that pans out. It's great stuff. Right, guys, I'm probably going to be doing another update pretty soon because I've got quite a few things that I want to watch in the next few days, so I'll be doing another 5-movie update. Don't worry, I won't be getting bogged down in doing television stuff. But thank you for watching. Thank you for sticking with this. Tell your friends about it. Tell all your friends. Get them to subscribe up. Not really, I don't care. Just keep watching. If you enjoy it, let me know. Any comments, as always, stick them down below. Thanks very much, guys, for giving me your time, and I'll see you in the next episode. Cheers.